I'd like to declare this meeting open at 9 a.m. I advise meeting attendees that this meeting is being webcasted and audio recorded, and I remind attendees to practice social distancing and take the necessary safety precautions. So unless you're speaking, could I please ask that you keep your masks on? Councillors, just before we get underway, I'd just like to make an announcement, if I may. The City of Logan, as we all know, is doing its bit to support Queensland Health with the vaccination rollout. Queensland Health's COVID-19 vaccination clinic at Logan Entertainment Centre is open 7 days a week, and I'm really proud to say that they're averaging more than 1,000 vaccinations per day. Council has answered the call from Queensland Health to further assist with a vaccination clinic now open in Yarrabilba, and soon there'll be another site open, and I think it's no secret, we've read it in the local paper, and the local paper is reporting that that clinic will be open at Mount Warren Sports Centre. We understand this will cause some disruption to our community groups, and we sincerely apologise for the inconvenience. And I'd just like to acknowledge Councillor Murphy, who I know has been working very closely with council officers with regard to the disruption out at Mount Warren. I would like to encourage everyone who's listening to take advantage of these additional vaccination hubs and get vaccinated. I'd like to commend Annette and her crew. Our Logan Libraries are doing their bit to support people in the community to register for the vaccinations, which is truly a valuable resource. Let's support one another during this very challenging time, and I would like to just give our thoughts to the Windaroo community and the surrounding areas who have all been very vigilant over the past week, and due to their vigilance, I'm really pleased to see that conditions are improving down there for those residents. Thank you once again to the Logan community. Please get in, get vaccinated. I've certainly had my 2 vaccinations, and I would encourage you and your families to do the same. After all, we're all in this together. As today's agenda does contain a confidential report, I note that a proposed motion to suspend Section 7.11A6 of the Local Government Committee Meeting Code for the purposes of audio recording the closed sessions in today's meeting for Council's internal confidential use only. Behind me there is now a motion displayed on the screen. Do I have a mover for that motion? Thank you very much, Councillor Wilcox. I have a seconder and Councillor Raven. By a show of hands, can I see those councillors who are in support? Councillor Murphy, you're not supporting the motion?
I'd like it to be open session.
It will be open session, but this is regarding, generally, sorry. Okay, that particular report, we'll actually vote on that closer to the time as well. This is just about the audio recording of that report. Sorry, by show of hands, who was in support? Okay, I have all in support with the exception of Councillor Lane. Councillor Lane?
I'm against, Madam Chair.
Okay, so this is pertaining to the recording. If we go into confidential, you're against recording it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Noted. We have no leaves of absence to declare today. It's good to see everybody here. So let's get right underway with a report that I've been really excited to bring back to Council. We were in lockdown last time, so we held this report over so that we'd all have the opportunity to participate in this one. So I now draw your attention, councillors, to item 4.1, which is the proposed Logan Art Gallery exhibition program. Before we get underway, do any councillors have any conflicts of interest they wish to declare? There being none, I will now hand over to the Libraries and Creative Industries Manager, Ms Annette Turner, to provide her report. Thank you, Annette.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, councillors and Mayor. It's our pleasure to be here today to present the proposed 2022 exhibition program for Logan Art Gallery for your endorsement. I'm joined here today by our lovely Michael Wardell, who is our Art Gallery Coordinator and will be co-presenting today's presentation. The proposed program which you're about to see is consistent with Council's Logan Art Gallery exhibition policy, and it explores two diverse themes. One is exploring the work of the artists of the City of Logan, and the other major theme that we present each year is bringing touring exhibitions from around Australia to Logan. To kick off next year, We actually, unfortunately, need to close for a short period of time of about 6 weeks to do some essential maintenance. The gallery is more than 25 years old, and the air conditioning system needs a full replacement so that we can be consistent with national standards. So that actually provides us with an opportunity to continue our online engagement with community during this time. So we'll have some really exciting online programs, some art making workshops, some terrific creative industry talks, and lots of engagement which we've been able to develop over the last 18 months, and we will make that more so during this time. I'm now going to hand over to Michael, who's going to talk about some of the exciting exhibitions we're proposing to show next year.
Good morning, Councillor. We start the year then in March with the Story of Landscape. Logan Lee artist Fung Lee presents a series of watercolours which depict the daily life and landscapes of the city of Logan and elsewhere. A major touring exhibition, Asia Pacific Contemporary 3 Decades of APT. This exhibition celebrates a selection of works by artists featured in the Triennale over the last 3 decades. This is on tour from Queensland Art Gallery, Gallery of Modern Art. And in the Young People's Gallery, we have Workshop Wonders, a special selection of student works chosen from the Art Gallery workshop programme. In April, we have Altered States. It's a print collaboration between members of Migelow Press Artist Collective in Queensland and members of Far Station Print Studios in Victoria. Our major biannual exhibition, International Wildlife in Art, the Queensland Wildlife Artists Society presents an exhibition of paintings, pastel works, drawings and sculptures of wildlife. And The Shining Moon, Currabee artist Lee Jensen presents illustrations from the text of her new children's book, The Shining Moon. In June, we have Southside Upcycle Stitches Collective. The Stitch Together will showcase recent outcomes from the Southside Upcycle Stitches Collective, using fabric waste, donated clothing and sewing to upcycle and transform garments. Family Ties is Greenbank First Nations artist Jessica Skeen McKinnon has curated a group exhibition of members of her own family. There's a whole family of artists. Shibakawa and Logan City Children's Art Exchange Exhibition is a biannual exchange exhibition with our sister city, Shibakawa in Japan, of children's work. And the World Environment Day posters brings together a collection of vibrant artworks designed by Logan's young artists. In July, Rochdale South artist Christina Lowry presents Remember to Live, the artist's first solo show at Logan Art Gallery. Omi Tapa Art PNG. This touring exhibition features tapa from the Omi people from Papua New Guinea. Still Water is a new body of work from artist Henry van Neunenberg that explores effects on the natural environment due to global warming. Escaping Stress. For this exhibition, young Baronia Heights artist Olivia Murdoch presents illustrations of his own superheroes. We've got one, missed one. Oh, sorry. Okay. Of his own superheroes. In September, we have Art Waves 2022, the annual exhibition of artworks from local high schools. If you want to see the current exhibition of Art Waves, it'll be ready for viewing this Friday. We're currently hanging it. Next year is actually the 30th anniversary of this hugely popular exhibition. In October, we have Bespoke Made in Logan. This exhibition showcases contemporary jewellery and small objects by well-known and emerging local artists. Something Fishy shares Ana Gonzalez's stories of her life experiences growing up under the Franco-dictatorial regime in Spain. And Home and Habitat, in this exhibition, Bethania artist Chris Estridge investigates the concept of home and habitat for people and native wildlife. Choices and Conundrums features a series of fun and quirky watercolour paintings which poke fun on the oddness of life by artist Jeffrey Service. In December, in Wildish, artist Emma Gardner uses drawn trace monotypes, cybertypes, and stitch to create works that feature the human condition. And Sushi, raised in Shallow Park, fashion designer Helen Miller presents a series of soft sculptures, including textiles, theatrical masks, costumes, and digital prints. Chris Santos, Hidden in the Folds. Hidden in the Folds is a solo exhibition by Springwood artist Chris Santos, which explores various aspects of the human function, combining design, textiles, and photography. And finally, Ripple Effect is our annual exhibition. Each year we select one artist from the current Art Waves exhibition and mentor them to develop their first solo exhibition in the Young People's Gallery. Thank you.
The proposed 2022 exhibition program for Logan Art Gallery has not only nurtured and explored the diversity of the work of the Logan artists, but ensures all community interests are met in this wide-ranging program. And we present it today for your endorsement.
Thank you so much, Annette. Thank you, Michael. Always such a great pleasure to see what's happening in the gallery. It's certainly something that we as a city should be very, very proud of. Councillors, do you have any questions regarding the presentation? Thank you, Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. I would just like to say I'm quite surprised since being elected that my kids actually now ask when's the next time they can go to the gallery. I think they've been about 4 times already to see different exhibitions, and they especially love the Art Waves one. They walk around and they actually go, do we know any of the kids that have put artwork up? And they actually did know some of the kids that actually had put artwork up in last year's round. So they always look forward to that bit. And I do love walking around and seeing which artworks come from Division 11 especially, and I always take photos of it and then go and try and find the artist if I know them and that sort of thing in the division and that sort of thing. So I do say thank you and that sort of thing, and if you haven't been with your kids, make sure you take them because it is really interesting and there's some really cool stuff in there. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Mayor Power.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The wildlife display, that's what, just a combination of different artists around Australia, or is it a particular collection?
It's a selection of works from the Society of Wildlife Artists, which has got local artists, some from Logan, some from Queensland, and some they're all from all over Queensland.
Okay.
So it's the Queensland Wildlife
Okay,
Society.
all right. I just got a bit of interest there for that. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from any other councillors? No, I'd like to just thank you for the presentation. I look forward to getting down and catching a lot of the new program that's coming up. And of course, we understand it's always a shame to close the gallery, but it's long overdue, I think, for the reconditioning of the air conditioning units there. So may that all go to plan. Councillors, there's a motion on the board behind me to accept the report. Can endorse the report. I beg your pardon. Can I have a mover for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Hall. A seconder. Thank you, Councillor Bradley. By show of hands, can I see all those who are in favour? Thank you. That's been unanimously supported. Councillors, while we have the manager here, do we have any general business for Ms Turner? There being none, Ms Turner, do you have any general business for the councillors?
No, not today. Thank you very much.
you for your report. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Councillors, I now draw your attention to item 5.1. 5.1 is a LIP special consideration project support from our Sport, Leisure and Facilities team. Before we get underway, do any councillors have any conflicts of interest they wish to declare? There being none, I will now defer to the Sports, Leisure and Facility Acting Manager, Mr Ben O'Brien, and give Ben a moment just to take his seat. Thank you, Ben. Ben, when you're ready, we'd love to hear your report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, councillors. Croaky voice. This report seeks Council's approval for a special consideration under the Local Infrastructure Program to provide Unit Committee TS Walrus $15,000 towards the construction of a carport which has both the support of Councillor Murphy and Sports, Leisure and Facilities branch. The unit has raised funds and sought quotes to paint the exterior of the building in addition to adding a carport. I just wanted to draw your attention that the proposed works do require a building approval. However, the works are deemed of a low-risk nature and we will be including a condition to allow our Community Infrastructure Program to review the final drawings and building approval prior to the construction commencement. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr O'Brien. Do we have any questions from any councillors? Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Jeremiah first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question about this funding of $15,000. I see on page 3 of the report, it states that Smarty grants will be used and also the allocation of these funds will be managed in accordance with our grants policy. So is this $15,000 when it's given to the organisation, is this $15,000 a grant?
My understanding is yes. That is the process we utilise to provide the club with the funding, yes, to construct specifically, in this instance, the carport, yep.
Okay, so it seems like every committee, it comes up and we have to vote on a special exemption under the LIP program. So my concern with that is if it's a grant and it comes out of LIP funding, which many in the community interpret as a discretionary fund, which it's not, that means that grant money is being allocated out of a bucket called LIP that many people see as discretionary. And discretionary grant funding is limited by legislation. So since this keeps on coming up every single committee round, I understand there's an intent to review the LIP guidelines or the LIP policy, the Local Infrastructure Program guidelines in a number of months. I strongly encourage that the organisation reviews these guidelines as a high priority because it doesn't seem like this is best practice right now.
Through the Chair, yes, Councillor Jeremiah, you are absolutely correct. We'll be working with governance to review specifically the guidelines around special consideration for exactly the reasons you've identified. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
And thank you. Just on that, Mr O'Brien, when do you think we councillors might hear some feedback regarding that review?
We hope to be engaging in this review in the coming month, so I can certainly work with councillors offline to provide updates on how we progress through that, but we will be working with our friends in governance to get through this as well. So I'd like to think in the next month or two.
Excellent, thank you. Any further questions, Councillor Jeremiah? No. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, through the Chair. Thank you, Mr O'Brien, as well. In my area, I have 32 facilities and 2 pools, so obviously I have a lot of maintenance to do, and I'm trying to do this under the guidance of the officers to get the best bang for buck. And I'd like to thank Lars and his team for working with me on the projects in Division 12, and I appreciate their assistance with regards to this. The property, TS Walrus, is at Remove Street and has had minimal funds spent on the building and has been brought back to life as an asset that on the council register, and something that we should be proud of now that it's had a makeover for very minimal money. A big thank you must go to Steve and Arlene and the committee for doing their tireless work and dedicating their time to this. And now it's a wonderful place for those 10 to 17-year-olds that are out in our community and the naval cadets. These funds will go to a piece of shade structure in between the buildings for the cadets to stand under, and it will provide the last sort of piece for this asset. So when I first started working on this particular building, it was run down and it needed a good paint job, needed a good clean up, had no air conditioning, the electrical work needed done, and we've been able to do that for just over $30,000, which is an awesome spend with regards to this funding. The Smarty grants, they just have the tick the boxes in this case. Jacob, Councillor Harrimara, sorry, I've used this facility a few times. It just gives some control for those committees ratifying the money at the end of the day and making sure that it is all spent correctly. I don't mind using the facility if it gets the projects done for minimal cost. Like I said, I have 32 facilities and 2 pools, which is 10% of Logan's infrastructure. So I've got to get the best bang for buck, and I hope that my fellow councillors will support me in this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Do I have any other comments from any other councillors? Councillors, there's a motion on the board behind me. Can I have someone to move that motion? Thank you, Councillor Murphy. A seconder for the motion. Thank you, Councillor Bannon. By show of hands, all those in favour? Thank you, councillors. That's been unanimously supported. Councillors, that marks the end of our Acting Sport, Leisure and Facilities Managers reports for today. Do any councillors have any general business for the Acting Manager? There being none, I would just like to say a huge thank you to Mr O'Brien and his team for working so diligently in the background with regard to the vaccination clinics that we discussed earlier today. I know that these things don't happen easily, and I also know that there has been quite some time constraints in and around that. So please pass on our sincere thanks to your teams, and I appreciate their continuing to work with those groups that will be displaced. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Excellent. Councillors, I now draw your attention to item 6.1, which is the Our Logan and divisional-based newsletters. Just before we get underway, do any councillors have any conflicts of interest that they wish to declare? Okay, there now being none, I note that our Marketing and Events Manager, Ms Jackie Mollinson, has actually entered in discussions. Councillors, I would just draw to your attention that there is a confidential nature to this report, and I'm very happy to move into confidential, but I'll be guided by you. I note that 6.1, if we go into confidential, it's considered necessary due to move into closed session due to confidential attachments containing information of examples of quoted prices which may provide unfair commercial advantage to potential future suppliers. Do any councillors wish to move into closed session for this item? Councillor Bradley would like to move into closed session. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Mr Mayor. By show of hands, can I see those who'd like to move into closed session? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's carried. I'm actually happy to record the vote. Would you like me to? Okay, we'll go through it one at a time. Councillor Bradley, how do you vote? For. Mr Mayor? Councillor Raven? Councillor Hall?
Against.
Councillor Fraser?
For.
Councillor Harrimaya?
Against.
Councillor
Against.
Bannon? Councillor Stamp? Councillor Wilcox?
For.
Councillor Murphy?
Against.
And I am also for, so I'll just double check the numbers. How many have we got?
Councillor Lane.
Oh, my apologies. Can I just apologise, Councillor Lane? You were just hidden behind Councillor Power, and I missed you there.
Yes, he does have a big head, but...
My apologies. I am well aware that you're there, but I whizzed past you. So that was against for you. Just to be clear, we have 8 in favour, 5 opposed, so we will now move into confidential to hear Jackie's report. So we'll just take a moment for the audio recording to cease. wait until we're ready to go. We're all ready to go. Thank you, councillors, and I'd now draw your attention to item 6.1, which we've just discussed in the confidential aspects in confidential. But in the interests of openness and transparency, I would like to ensure that the public are provided with as much information as they possibly can be with regard to this topic. And with that in mind, I would like to call on our Marketing and Events Manager, Ms Jackie Mollinson, to please present her report. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Councillor Kransky. Good morning. As Councillor Kransky has already advised, this report is on Our Logan magazine and divisional-based newsletters. We recognise elected members are a key channel through which Council can reach and engage with the community. Since 2009, Our Logan magazine has been the primary channel for Council's communication with Logan residents and businesses. Council is always looking for ways to continue to effectively communicate with all residents in both print and through accessible digital channels. Over time, Our Logan has expanded its editions from quarterly to 10 editions. In the past year, the Our Logan production schedule has included 6 editions to allow for a digital platform of Our Logan to be developed to complement the 6 print editions. To continue to address the changing landscape, the diverse age demographics in the Logan community, and feedback from councillors that some residents have requested more communication from their councillors and their divisions, the report is proposing divisional pages in each of the 6 editions of the printed Our Logan, dedicated divisional pages in Our Logan Digital to include video and divisional story content, and printed divisional newsletters. Existing budget allocations will be used, and the report proposals are cost neutral. The principal aim of the report today is to discuss the distribution and frequency of the divisional newsletters. We've included 2 options for distribution and 4 options for frequency and content length. From a logistics and consistency perspective, it's recommended that 1 distribution option is selected. 4 options for divisional newsletter frequency and content length are also included, and these include 4 times a year, either in a 4-page or 2-page format, and twice a year in a 4-page and 2-page format. Thank you, Councillor Kransky. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Ms Mollison. And just for clarity for my sake, am I clear that the recommendation that exists in the report at the moment is effectively cost neutral? So we won't be seeing any additional onerous costs over and above what's in the report?
That is correct, Councillor Kransky.
Excellent, thank you. I'll now open the floor to discussion. Do any councillors have any questions for the manager? Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and not a question, just a comment. I want to thank Jackie for the hard work that she's done. When we were first elected, we came into a space where there had been no divisional representation for about a year, and the strong feedback from my community was that while they enjoyed the Our Logan magazine, they felt that they wanted to know what was going on in their area. And as the Deputy Mayor moving through the city, that's feedback that is actually reflected from a number of different parts of the city, when they don't just want to know necessarily about what their councillor is doing, they want to know about community events, they want to know about their local champions, they want something that's not just a citywide document, but has a very local element for them, and the city being divided into 12 roughly equal parts as far as voters are concerned is a very easy way for us to orientate that, because people have communities of interest related to their divisions, even if they don't know exactly where the boundary is. A great example of how effective the divisional pages can be was something I did last term, where I went out to the entire city and asked them about whether or not they'd like to see fishing banned at Tygum Lagoon. It was an issue in my local area. There was a few very motivated advocates for it, and I said, I'm going to put it to the city and say, if you email me, I'll take your feedback on board. I got lots and lots of feedback, I think over 3,000 emails, and the vast majority of people wanted to see fishing continue, but in a more restricted and limited fashion than it was currently. I have no capacity to do that in the current model because I can't take something that's very local to my area, Tygum Lagoon, and speak to the whole city about it, because everybody in the city enjoys that park just as they do the lagoon at Underwood Park. And I know that Councillor Bradley had different feedback when she did that last term, or the term before that. So it is a very valuable asset that needs a local element, and I'm excited to see it coming back. I think newsletters are valuable as well because people need to understand what they are getting for their ratepayers' dollar and what council is doing in their area. And that, again, doesn't have to be necessarily something that their councillor does, but when roadworks are coming, when lights are being turned back on through industrial estates and what the Hooning Task Force is doing, a whole bevy of things that are very specific and local to an area. The things that happen in Marsden are very different to what happens in Jimboomba, and our communities want to hear different advice from what council is doing. So I'm excited to see this fine-grained approach, and I'm very excited that you've managed to do it without having any impact on the ratepayer and keeping it budget neutral. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Do any other councillors have any comments that they'd like to make? Thank you, Councillor Lane. I can barely see you behind the mayor, but I do know you've got your hand up. So, Councillor Lane.
Yes, his big head's in the way again. Through you, Madam Chair. So if I can just get my timelines right in relation to councillors' previous abilities to communicate with their residents. And I ask you to bear with me as I go through the steps that have happened in the past and more recently, because this is actually a small report that is in the public domain. So I'd like to actually go over what's happened. So in 2009, Council introduced the Our Logan magazine as a primary channel for Council's communication with Logan residents, businesses, and councillors had access to a page in which they could tell the community about local news stories. Now, having read every edition, I know Council's media or marketing team at the time were responsible for a lot of the councillors' magazine content. That's correct? Is that correct, Director?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct.
Yep. So then in 2012, our Logan was expanded from 4 times a year up to 10 editions per year, and every councillor was able to put in their local news on a full page. That's right, Director?
Sorry, could you please repeat that? Sorry.
The editions rose in 2012 from 4 to 10 a year, and each councillor had a page in which they could put their local news in. That's correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so...
Excuse me, Mr Mayor, would you be so kind as just to move back a little bit? You're right in the line of sight between the councillor and the director. It's actually hard to communicate. I'm sorry, it's just the fact that we're being very cognizant of social distancing. I appreciate it has its challenges.
It's those bulging muscles, we can't see past them.
My apologies for the interruption, Councillor Lane.
That's okay.
Please continue.
Director, did council staff write or suggest articles for Our Logan magazine for the divisional councillors of the time?
Through the chair, that was prior to my time, so I've only been here for 3 years.
Okay, well, just to confirm, I've had discussions with previous councillors who were around when these changes happened in 2012. So I do know the answer. I do know that there was a lot of writing that happened by council officers for those divisional pages. Were any additional team members put on as a result of the increase in the number of editions through the 2012, 13 and 14 budgets?
Thank you, Chair. I'll have to take that question on notice. That, again, that was prior to my time.
Yep, thank you so much. I do know that there were additional staff put on after having conversations with previous councillors. So in item 7.1 on the 12th of February 2020, a report to the Lifestyle Committee recommended the reduction of editions. It stated, and I quote, "The purpose of the report to outline the findings of our Logan magazine review and seek approval on key recommendation to reduce the frequency of publication in order to meet corporate priorities and deliver substantial recurrent savings." Who requested the report initially and for what purpose? Was it to reduce the costs? Was it a lack of material or was it another reason?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Lane. Through the chair, there was a number of different things going on while we were under interim administration, and it was also the changing landscape that we were going through, where we had residents that were also wanting to have a more digital option, which is a project that we've been working on since.
So the interim administrator during her time led the change in that policy, or was it council officers who led the change in that policy?
it was certainly a collaborative approach that we were all working together, because at the time under interim administration, and it's easy to look back now with hindsight. There was a lot of things going on during interim administration.
I completely understand that.
And one of the things was that for that time period of interim administration until the elections, there was not going to be any councillors in Our Logan magazine.
Thank you. So the interim administrator who said in item 8.4 of the City Lifestyle Committee statement, I had, and I quote, "I had concerns early on about how this publication had been increasingly used by councillors as a personal advertisement." And the quote goes on, "In this day and age, citizens rightly have little appetite for politicians who use taxpayer or ratepayer funded advertising for their own benefit. The value of this magazine to the community is not in promoting the achievements of a councillor who is being paid to do the job, but in meaningfully informing residents about their city's events, council services, and stories about Logan's people and local businesses." So the IA's comments seem quite strong. Do you know if any reports were issued by council, by the organisation, and written by council officers contributed to the IA's belief that councillors had taken advantage of their position to use the magazine as a personal advertising mechanism?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm not able to comment on what the IA believed.
That's no worries. Can I please see any advice or any written materials relating to our magazine during the time of the interim administrator? And can you indicate what reports helped to form this opinion? If she did in fact come with this opinion previously, we would find that out, or whether or not it was actually fostered as part of her role when she got here. Is it your opinion that the magazine was used by councillors as a personal advertisement mechanism, as suggested by the IA in her comments? Is that your view, Director? I think it's a reasonable question.
Through the chair, I've watched the timeline of this magazine evolve and listened to the history of some of the councillors that have been here for quite some time, and I've heard the perspective of the team who have worked collaboratively with councillors to produce reports, to produce the Our Logan magazine. I certainly believe that anything that is a collaborative effort for us to communicate better with our residents is well served.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but that didn't really answer the question. Do you think that they actually were using it as a...
I'm going to dive in at this point, Councillor Lane. Is there a question regarding the report?
Well, this is part of the report, because what's not mentioned in this report, Madam Chair, is the background of this, which I think the ratepayers would actually be interested to know, because I was actually intrigued when I started reading it. So the IA went on to say, this is what feedback told us. So this is what we're going... Oh, no, hang on a second. Yep, this is what feedback shows. She said that... I'm also pleased to see that there will be a reduction in the number of issues down to 6 per year, and new efforts in the coming year and beyond to transition the magazine readership towards electronic media and to simplify the opt-out process. Clearly, this review has been based on very comprehensive data and feedback from all sectors of the community. The robustness of this evidence gave me a lot of confidence about making a decision on the future direction of this valuable communication tool for council. Now, that was in resolution number 12 of 20. So I've asked for all the advice given to the IA, and the minutes of the meeting would be really great, anything to do with Our Logan magazine, so I can actually see how she came to be of this view that it was used as an advertising mechanism and that there was a robust investigation into what residents wanted, because I went on to read that the IRIS consultancy report went to 723 people to give feedback. Now, of those 723 people, we don't know how many answered every question. We don't know how many answered the question about receiving information from their elected councillors. But this from the report, it says 73% of readers say they would prefer a print copy of the Our Logan magazine in the mail. So this is a respondents. 0.063% of Logan's population said, 73% of them said they wanted a print copy in the mail. 56% of the readers in that survey, that independent survey, which the IA used to actually scrap councillors in the magazine, said that they wanted no change to the frequency of the magazine, nor the number of editions. In asking this, did the organisation not believe that incoming councillors should have been consulted on such a big change, given overwhelmingly from the 723 people surveyed who said they wanted it to councillors to remain in it and that they wanted the same number of additions, how was that dismissed and a resolution came about in February 2020 to remove councillors from the magazine and to actually dismiss the will of the people in that review?
I'll just say that I'm conscious that the director's not in a position to speak on behalf of the IA.
I understand
may be
that.
able to provide some insights
Could
into
you
what was
answer
happening
how
within that particular
whether the
department.
recommendations of that report, because I tried to find some of the information and I couldn't find it, and it became very frustrating. So I tried to find out what was council's view of that assessment by Iris Consultancy. Was it that we should change it? What was the recommendation of the report that the interim administrator had in front of her from council officers?
I might actually ask the director if that report could be distributed to councillors.
Sure, and through the chair, there has been a lot of factors that have gone into it at the time, and given we've got a mayor and new councillors now, given we're getting through a global pandemic and we're in the second year of that, given we've rolled out a new brand, we've had a new manager in place, there has been a number of different things that have come on, and certainly I agree with your feedback about engaging councillors a lot earlier in feedback for communication methods. So I see that. I'll take responsibility of that, and I wish I could have done things differently
No, I understand, Director. You're trying to do the very best in a very big area that you have to cover. You have a substantial portfolio to cover. But so the new council was elected and each of us campaigned on the issue of transparency. We got into council to find we had no access to putting any information out in the printed edition, nor a newsletter to report back to our residents on the progress of local initiatives that they have led and that we have implemented using their ratepayer dollars. We had a minimal mailing budget that allowed us to mail to less than 1/2 of our voting constituency and less than 1/3 of our actual divisions. So councillors were asked about being included back in our Logan magazine, and that was pretty much month one of us being elected. We're now 15 months down the track. Oh wait, I've gone too far. So a decision was made in December 2019 to go to a consultancy to actually look at residents and ask what did they want. By February 2020, a report was to the interim administrator advising that we should cut councillors out of the magazine and that they had no role to play, with her very strong words attached to that. So it took 2.5 months to cut councillors out of the magazine. We asked a month into the job whether we could get back in there, and here we are 15 months down the track, and a report has come up that said, you can go in, but you're going to do it our way, and you're going to, you're not going to have it in your own words. There is no detail around who's going to write the articles, whether or not we can put forward our own things into this magazine. I have genuine concerns about the magazine. I would love to have my division know what's going on in their area. I love it so much that I actually paid for my own newsletter and continue to pay for
like to say that I had nothing to do with that. Could I just jump in for a second while we sort you out with a new microphone?
We're sorted now, Madam Chair. I'm fine to go on.
Excellent. My question actually is to Jackie. So, sorry, Ms Mollinson. So with the actual content that will go into the Our Logan magazine, my understanding is that Council's media department will be using some of their specialist journalists to assist councillors in pulling that together. Is that right?
Certainly that is correct, Councillor Kransky, for Our Logan, and support would be provided via your allocated media officers in terms of content development and photography. And in terms of the proposed divisional newsletters, we would be proposing that councillor advisors would collate that, that content with the support of both the marketing and media branches.
Thank you. Continue, Councillor Lane. I just wanted to clarify that point.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So we're advised the council have made the decision in February to remove the councillors from the magazine. That's all well and good. We keep hearing about this online digital edition. So in one of the briefings that we had, I was offered the opportunity to have an online newsletter, and I said, that's fantastic. You'll give me the list, I can send them out using my platform. They said, no, you can't do that. You've got to do it through You really don't want me to talk here today? There you go. And you know how many people I was actually able to email on council's wonderful online platform? 86 people. Out of a constituency of almost 40,000 residents in my division, both on the roll and off the roll, I was offered 86 email addresses. But you know the amazing part about this? I wasn't going to be given the email addresses. I didn't know who they were, what their ages were, what their interests were. I was going to be given the ability to hand over material to the marketing branch for them to mail it. So when I said, I've got my own mailing list of over 1,000 people, I was told, you can't use your title, you can't use that mailing list, you have to report all of those interactions back to council as part of the openness and transparency required of your role. So in short, I couldn't put out an electronic newsletter without going through the marketing branch. And that was advised by the manager of corporate governance. Now, when she said I couldn't use my title, I said, that's mine, not yours. I was elected, I was issued with that title when I was sworn in. And when I challenged that, all of a sudden the online newsletter disappeared. We didn't hear much more about it other than we're going to an online platform. The online strategy is 2019 to 2022. We're almost at the end of 2021 and I can't see an online newsletter anywhere on there other than the community services one where you can link in and attach it. So
Not to mention you've broken a number of microphones today, Councillor Lane.
And yet I haven't used one single naughty word. Imagine that.
My apologies, Councillor Lane, for the technology failing.
That's
today.
okay.
I realise that actually breaks your stride.
So I know I'm taking a while, but I really wanted to get residents to have the background of what we've gone through. So we've had 2 briefings on newsletters. We've negotiated whether or not we're going to an online newsletter, whether we're going to go into the magazine, whether we want divisional newsletters. And I said I want them all. Do you know why I want them all? Because my residents actually deserve to know what their ratepayer dollars are being spent on. Ms Mollinson's come back with a negative cost to the ratepayer as part of the hard work that she's put into this process. And I really do appreciate that. But I want to be able to say to my words, I won't embarrass council. I haven't done it except for today. I haven't done it yet. I'm supportive of council. I'm supportive of the brand. I appreciate the brand and the hard work that the community services portfolio has put into this. What I don't appreciate is 15 months down the track, a report comes down that says to the public that we want, but not what the background is. If the last council, which was disbanded, was so bad, why didn't someone step up and say that? I want to see the documentation in the lead up to next week's council meeting where this will be voted on. At this stage, I'm moving to abstain from the vote today, but I really want that background information so we know whether or not the push has come from particular ways.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. And just before I go to Councillor Bannon and then the Mayor, I just wanted to know whether the Director had any comments to close out this particular conversation.
Through you, Madam Chair, we'll follow up on that background information. I'll actually be an apology at Ordinary Council. I've got a medical appointment on the day, so my Annette will be covering while I'm on leave as well. So I'll follow up on that information in the interim. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Bannon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be quick. I do things a bit different to everyone when it comes to communication. I don't want to get into all of this, but if I do vote for all this to go through, where it says we have to do A3 twice a year, do you have to do that? If I say, no, I'm happy doing it once a year, it doesn't matter?
Direct the question to the Manager.
Through the Chair, thanks Councillor Bannon. No, you don't have to take up the full opportunity. We can work with you in terms of what your requirements are.
Thank you, that's all.
Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to respond to Councillor Lane and the need to go back into the background, I was obviously in council as a councillor when we decided, I think it was about 97, that we decided to have our own newsletters, and then we progressed to a magazine. The reason why we progressed to a magazine was that Australia Post changed direction in the way they did their mail-outs for unaddressed mail, and that they couldn't subdivide the mail for divisions that were split. So to overcome that issue, the media section, the marketing section, I'm not sure which one, decided that the best value for dollars was to actually put a magazine together, and it was agreed in place of the newsletters, we do a magazine right across the city so that the city can see what everything's happening in the city, and including each division, to see what else is happening. So that was the agreement. No newsletters, but a page in the magazine, and that's how it all came to play, because Australia Post changed the direction on our newsletters and couldn't distribute our newsletters to each division when it comes to a split suburb. There was a lot of confusion and they wouldn't be able to do it, so that's why it all came to play. Thank you.
Councillors, there being no further comments, I was going to round out the conversation, but I'll go to Councillor Raven and then Councillor Hall. Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate Councillor Lane's background, and I completely appreciate her frustration. Administration was difficult, and the interim administrator made it very clear to us on the IMC that her intention was to tighten the restrictions on councillors' abilities to function so that we would only expand that back out to what we needed, and that would be a process of change that would take time. So when you feel that it's taken time, that is working as intended, because she felt that that was appropriate, that we would have time, we would need to take time to find out where the line was. We're 15 months in, we've taken that time, we know where the line is, we've done it through a process of consultation with our community, consultation with the organisation, and then discussions amongst ourselves. So her position, which was to make processes take a bit of time to unpick so that we wouldn't go too far, that we would have just enough of the abilities to function, just enough of what worked from previous terms, as opposed to everything, which clearly had some hairs attached to it, is working. Her and I didn't always see eye to eye on things, but on this one, I think the delay was effective because you understand now and you know that your community wants to hear what's going on in their area. You've got that confidence because you understand. I think in month one, although we wanted this, we didn't understand exactly how badly the community wanted it, and that's why the timing is right now. So thank you for all the consultation that you've done in your communities, listening to your residents, because they are the ones who we're here to serve. And I think it's a timely reminder that they want to know not just what we're doing, but what the organisation is doing in their neighbourhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Councillor Hall.
In this rare circumstance, I'll probably be brief. And look, the best outcome that I believe for me, which could come as a result of this, is that the old fella that I speak to in Regal Waters, okay, is going to be able to. He doesn't have access to Facebook and social media and email. He's got a Nokia 2512, and every now and then he gets hold of me and gas bags about what's going on. But one of the concerns that he mentioned to me was that when he picked up the council magazine, as he calls it, he doesn't call it Our Logan, he calls it the council magazine. He said, I see you on one page on the front, but what are you doing? You're not mentioned at all through this whole magazine. I elected you as my voice, but what are you doing? You're not anywhere. And so I went down there and I sat with him and we opened up the Our Logan magazine, and I actually showed him what things I was involved with so that he could understand that I have been working for him, that I have been his voice in council. Now, I think there's a message there that, I can't do that for every single resident. It'd just take too much time. I've got about 18,000, voters in my constituency, so it'd be very hard to do that. And I don't see the Our Logan magazine an advertising platform. If I was going to advertise, I would jump in the trailer that my father and my mother helped me build and drag it out onto a main thoroughfare and put park it in John's electorate and so people could see that I'm advertising. You know, I'm saying that there's so many better ways for me to advertise. I could put something on social media and boost it to a dozen people. That's advertising for me. No, all I want from the Our Logan magazine is to let people know what I'm doing, you know, and what the other councillors are doing in their role as an elected member, and to show people that we're being their voice, we're making sure that their concerns are reflective in some of the work of what council is doing. And I think we can quite possibly do that. I'm not too bothered about the online stuff, because I do enough online stuff to bother anyone. But I would like for people like Reg, who don't have access to email, who don't have access, and there are a lot of people in our divisions like that, okay, where this is a whole, you know, if we cut out the Our Logan magazine, this is a whole group of people which are just disconnected from council and what council is doing, because they no longer have a newspaper.
If I may, Councillor Hall, it's not a recommendation to cut out the magazine today. So do you have any question for the manager with regard to this report recommendation?
It was, you know, it was mentioned before about getting rid of the Our Logan magazine, and going to a completely digital platform, and people don't know that, and people deserve to know that.
Councillor Hall, do you have a question?
No, I don't. This is just a big part of rhetoric. No,
I did
would
indulge
like,
Councillor Lane, but I'd like to see where this is going that's relevant to the report.
I'd just like to make sure that those residents who don't have access to online platforms get to engage with council and see what's going on as well.
Excellent, thank you. I think that brings us to probably the end of this debate. I'd just like to make a couple of comments myself. First of all, I'd like to thank the officers for bringing this report back to council. We certainly did ask you to go away and investigate ways that we could perhaps look at a cost-neutral outcome, which is what you've done today. From what I was hearing from the councillors as the chair, councillors were feeling, as Councillor Hall has rightly said, somewhat invisible in front of their constituents. They'd lost that ability to be able to communicate directly with their residents in the great work that they were doing as councillors, and I commend you for running this report forward with that in mind. Certainly something I wanted to say was simply my community wanted to know what we were doing. They were asking, what's the new council up to? They wanted not only connect with me, but they want to connect with my colleagues and find out what my colleagues' involvement is as part of new councillors across the city. I welcome this report. I supported this report coming to fruition. I concur with Councillor Lane's frustrations. There's a number of things you raised today that I would actually say that I have experienced myself, and I agree with you. I know there's some passion there today, but I certainly feel this is a good step in the right direction. And if councillors support this today, I dare say there will be some teething problems moving forward. So I don't think this is going to be a magic cure-all. But I also acknowledge Councillor Raven's comments regarding the IA. She did speak to us at that point in time about tightening up measures in council, and that it would take councillors some time perhaps to find that happy equilibrium in between. Thank you everyone for your debate today. Councillors, there is a recommendation on the board behind me. Do I have someone to move the recommendation? Thank you. Councillor Herremeier has moved. I have a seconder in Councillor Bannon. By a show of hands, can I see who's in support of the recommendation? And I will go round the room. Okay, we will start with Division 1. How do you vote, Councillor?
I'm abstaining, thank you.
Division 2, how do you vote, Councillor Lane?
I'll abstain pending that information for next week's council.
Thank you. Division 3, Councillor Russell? 4. Division 4 is me, and I am in favour. Division 5, Councillor Raven?
4.
Division 6, Councillor Hall?
4.
Division 7, Councillor Fraser?
4.
Division 8, Councillor Herremeier?
4.
Division 9, Councillor Bannon?
4.
Division 10, Councillor Stemp? 4. Division 11, Councillor Wilcox?
4.
Division 12, Councillor Murphy?
4.
And to the Mayor?
Abstain.
So I have 2 abstain, one pending next week, so abstain. So that is supported. Thank you, councillors. I appreciate that was somewhat exhausting, and thank you to the manager. Councillors, as we move on, I'll now ask if you have any general business for the manager. There being one, Ms Mollinson, do you have any general business for councillors?
Not at this time, Councillor Kransky. Thank
Excellent. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you. Councillors, that actually rounds out our reports for today, but I was wondering if the Manager for Community Services, Mr Maguire, might actually step up to the microphone for a moment, please. Sounds like you're off to the Principal's office. Councillors, I know that you are aware that Nick will be leaving us soon, and it would be remiss of me not to take this opportunity to say a few words. Nick's current tenure as Community Services Manager is actually his third stint at Logan City Council. He was previously the Economic Development Manager from 2013 to 2015 and Economic Development Manager at Bowie Shire Council from 2005 to 2008 when we amalgamated. Nick commenced his Community Services Manager in July 2017, and I first came to know Nick actually long before I was the councillor and I was the President of Logan Country Chamber of Commerce. I greatly valued Nick's advice and support when I was a community member, and I've continued to enjoy that advice and support, working first as a divisional councillor in the last term and then as actually the chair of this committee in this term. I'd like to say a few words on behalf of Nick's team, if I may. Nick's team value him tremendously. He's down to earth, he's empathetic, he's an empowering leader, and he has strong values that have enabled his team and council to achieve many great outcomes. And just to highlight a couple of those, under Nick's leadership, council's developed a strategic initiatives including the Community Infrastructure Strategy, the Safe City Strategy, Community Development Action Plan, Reconciliation Action Plan and Access and Inclusion Plan, as well as the expansion of the Community Development Program and the Safety Camera Network. Nick's last day with us, everyone, is actually on the 24th of September before he returns to Gold Coast City Council. And a little known fact, I believe Nick began at Gold Coast City Council in the mailroom as the mailboy. Nick will be taking up a role as the Manager of City Economy, and I know that I speak for all councillors as well as many members of our council staff when I say we're really going to miss you and we wish you every success for your future, and we're really looking forward to your fourth stint at Logan City Council. You're welcome to say a few words if you'd like to, Nick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know how I'm going to say a few words.
That's why we wear masks.
Yeah.
Nick, we adore you. Best of luck for your future. We miss you already. Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to light turn Nick's tears of sadness to tears of joy, I've got to dig in one last performance of his, a running joke that I'm sad I won't be able to throw at him anymore. Some of his best performances were as acting director before we had Katie on as the Community Services Director. And in budget, which is normally confidential, but I'm sure that there's nothing of civic secrets that we can't share here on this one, Nick managed to slide through a social planner when councillors were tired, maybe not paying attention, maybe they were just weary, but their hands all went up, and afterwards he says to me, "Can't believe you guys voted for that." The treasurer at the time agreed. She's like, "Okay." And what Nick doesn't ever rag me on, though, is that I voted for it. I know, it was a waste of money. I voted for it too. What? So, well done, mate. You're an excellent manager, and you acted up admirably. And you always did it with a smile and a bit of cheek, which made it entertaining to work with you and made boring meetings all the more fun. So, our loss is Gold Coast gain. I can't believe you're going south of Logan. It's pretty dangerous down there. When you're ready to come back and you want to be safe and well taken care of and respected, you come back to Logan.
Thanks, Councillor Raven. I think in that budget meeting, I think the way I got it over the line was when Councillor Swartz at the time wasn't watching. I think I voted for it as well. I think there was an extra hand that went up that kind of got unnoticed. I do remember getting chastised in that meeting for putting my hand up to vote for items, and Councillor Swartz reminded me that I didn't have a vote. But I just, now that I've managed to get myself together a little bit, I do want to say thank you to all of the councillors. It's been a there we go again. But it's been a huge privilege to be part of this organisation and to work with this group of councillors, especially in the branch that I work in. Community services is so connected to the community, and so we feel very lucky to work with a group of councillors that are so supportive of the work that we do. And this group of councillors, in the time that I've had the opportunity to work with you, has been extremely supportive of all the work that we do, and you know, have been great advocates for what we do, and have also provided us with some amazing feedback about the sorts of things that we should be doing. So, you know, I really want to thank you for your support, and, you know, in particular to Councillor Karansky, thank you for your comments, and thank you for taking the time to obviously have a chat to a few of my team as well. But, you know, your support has been phenomenal, both as the chair, but also in my previous roles as well. So just want to say thank you to you, and thank you to all the councillors.
And I believe Councillor Bradley would like to make a comment also.
Thank you. Nick, I want to wish you all the best in your future. We've lost some really good staff to Gold Coast City Council. I believe Alicia Swain went that way as well. Lucky you can interact with her. But I really sincerely want to thank you for everything and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Nick. Councillors, that brings us to the end of today's committee meeting. I note that due to social distancing regulations, not all managers can be here today, but of course we have our director, Katie Barton-Harvey. Does any councillor have any general business for the director? It's a tough act to follow. I might ask Katie if she has any general business for the councillors.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the Chair, I just echo all your kind words about Nick. Nick has made an incredible contribution to Council and to the community. And we sat in this room working through the budget with the program-based budget, and our acting CEO, Silvio Trinca, said that that outcome is one of the biggest game-changing outcomes that we've seen in infrastructure in this city for quite some time. So I congratulate Nick on the work that he's done in the COVID recovery, because Nick has also been responsible in the COVID recovery space, working really closely with the community who have been doing it tough, some areas of the community that have been doing it tough. So Nick's been working really hard there. In the community safety area, has done so much work, and particularly working with the councillors on the Hooning task force, as well as the Safe City task force, and in the community development program. I guess anyone that comes into council wants to leave it in a better state than what they found it, and Nick certainly has done that, and his legacy will be everlasting here. So thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Katie. Councillors, that completes our agenda for today. I declare the City Lifestyle Committee meeting of the 8th of September 2021 closed at 10:39 a.m. and this meeting of the City Governance Committee will commence in 10 minutes. Thank you, everyone.